Good afternoon, everybody. Great day here in Idaho. It's still a little nippy. Went to check the river to go fishing, and it is iced up big time. Most of the holes are covered up. There's a few to fish, so as soon as we get some decent weather, I'll go down and fish. But you probably saw my video. If not, I'll put it up here in the top of rigging up this new reel and this pole with line and backing. So now the next step is I'm going to rig it up to put a bobber on it so I can go do some fishing. Bobber with eggs or beads or jigs, whatever. But I've got my line here and I'll go through everything we're going to need. First thing we need on our line is a bobber knot. You can see here's my bobber knots. I tie several on a straw. I'll do a video to show you how I tie bobber knots to save you some money and have bobber knots that really work. Next thing I'll put on is a little bead that will slide up against my bobber knot. And I like, I think these are 5mm. You can use 6 or whatever millimeter beads you want, but these little 5s work good for me. They're kind of yellow so I can see them. Of course, the next thing on our line will be our bobber. I make my own bobbers. Stay tuned. I'll have a video on making bobbers as well, how I like to rig mine. Next thing I have is a rubber bumper. As you cast and everything bangs up against this sinker, that rubber bumper will help keep your knot good here so it won't get cut or broke. That bumper's a big thing. A lot of things you can use for rubber bumpers, but what this is just a little tubing. It's actually off of an archery peep sight, but it's heavy duty rubber and it'll work really well. And then of course the last thing on your line before your terminal gear is your inline sinker. So I'll show you how I rig everything up. Let's get going with it. All right, first thing, we're going to slide a bobber knot or a bobber stopper onto our line. So I put my line through the tube. I'm going to slide that onto the line. And then I kind of just start to get it a little bit tight. I don't want it super tight yet. Okay, so there's my bobber knot. I'll show you how I finish that out here in just a minute. And slide it up here out of our way. Okay, the next thing is going to go on is our little bead. Now the reason I run a bead on there is because on my bobber tubes, they have a little, a small insert that goes in there that your line just barely fits through. I take those off and throw them away. What they do is they ice up, they keep water inside your bobber, little ice up, and it just doesn't slide very good. So I get rid of them. So I have a bigger hole there so it'll slide good on my line, and that bead will go up against that and stop it from going over my bobber knot. Now I'm just going to put my line through my bobber. Next thing's going to go on is my bumper. And then the next thing is going to go on there is my inline sinker. Okay, run that back through the hole, or back through the eye, and back through. Lube it up a little bit. Slide it down on there. Okay, it's on, ready to go. So you can see I've got my sinker, my bumper, my bobber, my bead, and then there's my knot. Okay, so my bobber knot, I make it long on each end. I start out with a pretty long piece of thread, so I can wrap it around each finger a couple of times. I get good leverage. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet that knot nice and wet, and I'm going to get it nice and tight. And I'll trim off my tag end. Okay, there's my bobber knot. Now when I want to slide that, I want to make sure it's wet and lubricated so it doesn't chafe my line. But you can see my bobber will come up against that knot and stop. It'll go down against my sinker and stop. Anyway, so all I gotta do now is put my terminal gear on, that swivel, and I'm ready to fish. Okay, you know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, share it, and give me some comments about how you rig your bobbers. Maybe I can learn something from you and you can learn something from me. But anyway, I appreciate you watching. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.